Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the research proposal presentation of Class 6C, Room B. My name is Ade Sepiani, and I will be your moderator today. Before we start, I would like to say thank you to all presenters and participants for joining this session. Before we begin, I would like to explain some rules. First, each presenters will have 7 to 10 minutes to present. Second, I will give a sign when 1 minute left. Third, the Q&A session will be held at the end of all presentations. Fourth, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Thank you for your attention. Now, we will start our presentation session. Since I am also the first presenter, I will start my presentation first, and after that, I will continue as the moderator again. Or I will share my screen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ade Sepiani from Class 6C with student number 222-32354. Today, I would like to present my research proposal entitled The Effectiveness of Direct Method and Students' English Speaking Ability at a Public Junior High School. So in this presentation, I will explain the background, the problems, the method, and also the expected results of this research. English is one of the most important international language, especially in education in Indonesia. Students are expected not only to understand English, but also to use it in daily communication. But in reality, many students still have low speaking ability, even after learning English for several years. This is something we can often see in classroom. In many cases, teachers still use Indonesian more often than English and focus on grammar and translation. Because of this, students do not get enough practice to speak. As a result, students feel anxious. They are afraid of making mistakes and they are not confident. So from this condition, we can see that students need a better method. That is why this research focuses on using the direct method to help students speak more naturally. Based on the problems that I explained before, this research has three main questions. First, I want to know whether there is a difference in student speaking ability before and after using the direct method. Second one, I want to compare students who use the direct method and students who use the conventional method. And the third one, I want to know whether the direct method is effective or not in improving student speaking ability. So these questions become the main focus of this research. Based on those questions, this research has three objectives. First, I want to find out whether student speaking ability improves after using the direct method. Second one, I want to compare the speaking ability between two groups. And third one, to examine the effectiveness of the direct method. So, in short, this research wants to see improvement, comparison, and effectiveness. This study is expected to be beneficial both theoretically and practically. Theoretically, this research can support knowledge in English language teaching, especially in teaching speaking. It can also support existing theories about communicative learning. Practically, this research is useful for students, teachers, and future researchers. For students, it helps them speak better and be more confident. For teachers, it gives a new method for teaching speaking, and for future researchers, it can be used as a reference. This research is supported by several theories. According to Sarmamatova and Abdullayeva in 2023, the direct method can improve speaking skills because students get more practice. So students are more active in English. Then, according to Brown in 2004, speaking is an interactive process. It means speaking is not only talking but also listening and responding. Speaking also includes some components like pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, and grammar. So, from these theories, we can understand that speaking needs practice and a good method. This research used a quantitative method with a quasi-experimental design. I use this design because I want to measure the result clearly using numbers. There are two groups in this research, which are experimental group and control group. The experimental group uses the direct method, while the control group uses the conventional method. Then the results from both groups will be compared to see the difference. The participants in this research are eighth grade students in a public junior high school. There are two classes as a sample, which are class 8A is the experimental group and class 8B is the control group. So these two classes will be used to compare the result. The data are collected using pre-test and post-test. First, the pre-test is conducted to know the student's ability before the treatment. Then the experimental group is taught using the DART method for several meetings. After that, the post-test is conducted to see the improvement. So from these two tests, I can compare the results. The instrument used in this research is a speaking test. Students are asked to speak individually based on given topics. For example, they introduce themselves, talk about daily activities, describe a picture, and tell personal experience. These topics are simple so students can feel comfortable when speaking. Scoring rubric has four components, which are pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, and grammar. Each component is scored from 1 to 5, and the total score is 20. So the higher the score, the better the speaking ability. To make the result more reliable, there can be another assessor, such as an English teacher. Okay, in this table, I show the scoring rubric used to assess student speaking ability. There are three parts in the table, which are component, score, and criteria. The components include pronunciation, fluency, and then vocabulary and grammar. These components are used to evaluate different aspects of speaking. Each component is scored from 1 to 5. Score 5 is the highest and score 1 is the lowest. For example, in pronunciation, if the students speak very clearly and easy to understand, they get score 5. If the pronunciation is very poor and difficult to understand, they get score 1. In fluency, if the students speak smoothly without hesitation, they get score 5. If they cannot speak fluently and have many pauses, they get score 1. In vocabulary, if the student uses many correct words, they get score 5. If they have very limited vocabulary, they get score 1. In grammar, if the students use correct grammar consistently, they get score 5. If the grammar is very poor and difficult to understand, they get score. So each component shows the quality of student speaking ability, and the total score is the sum of all components. The data are analyzed using statistical methods. I will calculate the average score of the pretest and posttest. Then I will compare the result to see the difference. After that, statistical tests are used to know whether the result is significant or not. There are two types of hypotheses in this research. First is within group, which compares students before and after treatment. Second one is between groups, which compare experimental and the control group. H0 means there is no difference, and H1 means there is a difference. In conclusion, This research focuses on improving student speaking ability using the DAR method. This method is expected to help students practice more and become more confident. So it is hoped that this method can be an effective alternative in teaching speaking in the classroom. I think that's all for me. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will continue as the moderator. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Muhammad Ahsan Ramadan. For Muhammad Ahsan Ramadan, uh, you may share your screen. Okay. For Muhammad Ahsan Ramadan, you may continue your presentation. The screen is yours in 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Ahsan Ramadan from class 6C with the student number 2223230055. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to present my research proposal today. In this presentation, I will discuss my study entitled Utilizing English Premier League Match Commentary as authentic listening material in EFL class. This research focused on improving students' listening comprehension by using authentic and engaging material. Okay. For the first is background of the study. Listening is a very important skill in learning English because it provides the main input for students before they develop other skills like speaking and writing. However, in EFL contexts like Indonesia, listening is often considered the most difficult skill. This is mainly because students have very limited exposure to real English outside in the classroom. In addition, the listening material used in class are usually from textbooks, which are often too slow and not natural. In real life, people speak faster, use informal expression, and have different accents, so students often struggle to understand authentic English. Another problem is that students' motivation is quite low because the materials are not very interesting or relevant to them. Therefore, it is important to use more authentic and engaging materials. One example is English Premier League commentary, which provides real spoken English and is also interesting for students. Next is problem identification. In this study, there are two main problems identified. The first problem is that students have difficult understanding natural spoken English. This includes challenges such as recognizing face speech, understanding different accent, and identifying words when they are spoken continuously. Because our students are more familiar with slow and clear textbook audio, they often struggle when they hear real-life English. And the second problem is related to students' motivation. Many students feel bored or less interested during listening activities because the material used are not engaging or relevant to their interests. As a result, they tend to lose focus and do not fully participate in the learning process. These two problems show that both comprehension and motivation need to be improved in the listening interaction. And the next is research gap. Although many previous studies have discussed the use of authentic materials in teaching listening, most of them focus on general types such as movies, songs, news, or podcasts. These studies show positive results, especially in improving students' comprehension and motivation. However, there are still some gaps. First, very few studies focus especially on sport commentary as learning material, even though it contains rich and natural spoken language. Second, only a limited number of studies use a quantitative experimental design to measure the actual effect. Statistically, many studies are descriptive or qualitative. Third, there is still a lack of research that directly compares the use of specific authentic materials like English Premier League commentary with conventional textbook-based materials in the classroom. Next is research question. The first question is whether there is a significant difference in listening comprehension achievement between students who are taught using English primarily commentary and those who are taught using conventional listening material. This question focuses on comparing the result of the two groups. The second question is about the extent of the effect it aims to find out how strong the influence of EPL commentary is on student listening comprehension. So not only do we want to know if there is a difference, but we also want to measure how meaningful or significant that difference is. The next is research objective. First, this study aims to determine whether the use of English primarily commentary has a significant effect on students' listening comprehension. This means researchers want to see if this method can actually improve students' ability to compare the listening comprehension achievement between students who are taught using EPL commentary and those who are taught using conventional listening material. This comprehension helps to is the study also aims to measure the magnitude of the effect musically analyzed. For the next is significance of study. First, in terms of theoretical significance, this research can enrich the existing knowledge in the field of English language teaching, especially in listening instruction and the use of authentic materials. It also provides additional evidence about the effectiveness of sport-based media in language learning. Second, in the terms of practical significance, listening materials that are more engaging and relevant to student interests. And the third, in terms of pedagogical significance, the studies support the development of more student-centered learning. The next is conceptual framework. This independent variable in the study is the use of English primarily image commentary as authentic listening material. This type of material provides real spoken English, including natural speed, intonation, expression, and context. This characteristic create what we call authentic input. In addition, because the content is interesting and familiar to many students, it can also increase their motivation and engagement during the learning process. And the next is hypothesis. The null hypothesis in this study. Okay, in this study, there are two hypotheses: the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis states there is no significant difference in listening comprehension achievement between students who are taught using English primarily commentary and those who are taught using conventional listening materials. This means that the treatment is assumed to have no effect. On the other hand, the alternative hypothesis states that there is a significant difference between the two groups. This means that the use of EPL commentary is expected to have an effect on students' listening comprehension. The next is research. This study used a quasi-experimental research design with a quantitative approach. It is called quasi-experimental because the researcher does not randomly assign individual students into groups, but instead use exit class. The next is population and sample. The population of the study consists of senior high school students who are learning English as foreign language. The students are chosen because listening comprehension is an important part of their curriculum, and they already have basic experience in learning English. From this population, the sample is taken using a cluster
Sorry,
random
Ahsan,
sample.
you have 1 minute left.
Okay. This means that instead of selecting individual students randomly, the researchers select whole classes as the sample. The next is research instrument. The main instrument used in this study is a listening comprehension test. This test is designed to measure students' ability to understand spoken English. The next is data collection. The data in this study are collected through several steps. First, a pretest is given to both to the experimental and control groups. Second, the treatment is conducted. And finally, after all the treatment sessions are complete, a post-test are given to both groups. The next is data analysis. The data collected from the pre-test and post-test will be analyzed using statistical methods with the help of SPPS software. First, descriptive statistics will be used to calculate the mean, standard deviation, and the highest and lowest scores of both groups. Second, a normality test will be conducted using the Kolmogorov-Smirnov test to check whether the data are normally distributed. And the third, a homogeneity test using Liveness test will be applied to determine whether the variance of the two groups is equal. And the fourth, the independent sample t-test will be used to test the hypothesis and determine whether there is a significant difference between the experimental and control group. And finally, coherence will be calculated to measure the effect size, which show how strong the impact of the treatment is, whether it is small, medium, or large. And for conclusion, in conclusion, this study is expected to show that the use of English Premier League match commentary as authentic listening material can improve students' listening comprehension through exposure to natural spoken English, including understand how English is used in real-life communication. In addition, the interesting and familiar content can increase students' motivation and engagement, which support a more effective learning process compared to conventional listening material. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Muhammad Ahsan Ramadan, for the presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Jessica Yolanda Augusta. You may share your screen. Okay.
Okay, can you see my
Okay, for Jessica
screen?
Yolanda Augusta, you may start your presentation. The screen is yours in 3, 2, 1.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jessica Yolanda Augusta from class 6C with student ID 222-323-0092. So in this presentation, I would like to explain my proposed study entitled The Use of People Talk and its Association
Jessica,
with Speaking
sorry.
Anxiety. Yes.
Your voice is small. Yes.
Okay. Is it clear now? Still small.
Yes.
Wait a minute. What about now?
Yeah, better. Okay, you may start. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. In this presentation, I would like to explain my proposed study entitled The Use of People Talk and its Association with Speaking Anxiety and Confidence Among Indonesian EFL Students. Okay, let me start with the background. Speaking is one of the most important skills in English language teaching. It is not only about knowing vocabulary or grammar, but also about being able to express ideas, respond to others, and communicate in real time. For Indonesian EFL students, speaking ability is a very important because it supports academic communication and can also help them in future professional settings. However, in reality, many students still face difficulties in speaking English. In this study, I highlight three main problems. First, many students still feel anxious when they have to speak English. They often feel nervous, afraid of making mistakes, or worried that others will judge them. Second, many students also have low confidence, so they hesitate to practice in conversation. Third, students usually have limited opportunities for real communication, especially outside the classroom. In many cases, they learn English formally, but they do not get enough actual speaking practice. Because of this situation, I became interested in TripleTalk. TripleTalk is an online speaking platform that allows learners to join conversation and practice English with other people. It gives students more chance to speak in more flexible setting. Still, there is an important gap in previous studies. Many early studies mainly discuss students' perception of TripleTalk or its general usefulness for speaking practice. In other words, they often focused on whether students like the platform or they helped it, but there's still limited quantitative research that specifically examines the relationship between free talk use and two important psychological factors that are speaking anxiety and communication confidence. That is why I choose this topic. So for the next slide, it's a research question. So this study has three research questions. The first is, what is the association between the use of triple talk and levels of speaking anxiety, especially among Indonesian EFL university students? The second one is, what is the relationship between the use of triple talk and oral communication confidence among Indonesian EFL university students? And the third one is, what is the relationship between triple talk usage and overall speaking anxiety and communication confidence? Based on these questions, the objective of this study is also divided into 3 points. First, to identify students' speaking anxiety levels. Second, to examine students' communication confidence. And the third one is to analyze the relationship between triple talk usage and those psychological factors. Next is I would like to explain the theoretical review and hypothesis. I'm sorry, it's about theoretical review. So the first theory is a foreign language anxiety theory by Horowitz and colleagues. This theory is explained that anxiety in a foreign language speaking comes from several things, such as communication apprehension, fear of negative evaluation, and test anxiety. In simple words, students may feel anxious about they are afraid of speaking, afraid of being judged, and afraid of performing badly. So this theory is relevant because my study focused on speaking anxiety as one of the dependent variables. The second theory is self-efficacy theory by Bandura. So Bandura explains that confidence grows through successful experience, observing others, receiving encouragement, and having positivity emotional condition. In the context of speaking English, this means that if students have more positive speaking experience, they may feel more confident in using English. So this theory is support the second dependent variable in my study, which is communication confidence. And the third one is related to the technology in ELT. This perspective explains that online instruction can give learners more authentic practice, more flexible participation, and more opportunities to negotiate the meaning. Compared to a formal situation, online speaking platforms may help students more comfortable in practice English. This is why people talk is considered relevant in this study. So the next, I would like to explain the hypothesis. This study has two hypotheses. The first hypothesis is that there is a significant relationship between people talk usage and speaking anxiety. And the second one is that there is a significant relationship between people talk usage and communication confidence. So this study assumes that the way students use people talk may be related to the how anxious they feel and also how confident they are when speaking English. Okay, for the next is the conceptual framework and previous studies. So in this study, triple talk usage is the independent variable or variable X. Then there are two dependent variables. Is it speaking anxiety or U1 or and communication confidence. And the framework of this conceptual is that People Talk as an online speaking platform may influence student speaking experience. Previous studies have shown that People Talk can improve speaking practice and also fluency. Other studies also suggest that online platform may reduce anxiety and increase confidence. However, studies that examine this relationship quantitatively are still limited. Because of that, my studies start to try to provide more focused evidence about the relationship between platform usage and those two psychological factors. Next slide, I will move to methodology. The study used quantitative descriptive correlational design. I choose this design because the purpose of the study is not to test treatment in an experimental way, but to examine whether there is a relationship between freefolds usage and the two psychological variables. The population of the study is Indonesian university students who use freefold talk for English speaking outside the classroom. Since this population is broad and spread across the different universities, the exact of total number is specifically known. Therefore, the study used purposive sampling and snowball sampling. The target sample in this study is around 50 to 100 students, and the participant must meet several criteria. They must be undergraduate students who use Freeform Talk at least for 2 months, and they must use it at least 2 times per week. So this criteria is important because the study needs to participants who have not enough experience using this platform. Next, for the instrument, the study used a questionnaire with 1 to 5 Likert scale. The questionnaire measured 3 main parts. The first part is pivotal usage. The second part is speaking anxiety. And the third part is self-confidence in communication. So the data collection begins with developing the questionnaire. Then the questionnaire will be distributed through Google Forms. And then the response will be collected from participants. After the data are collected, the analysis will be done in 2 stages. First, I will use descriptive statistics such as average and standard deviation to describe the data. Second, I will use correlation analysis, either Pearson or Spearman, depending on the data distribution. And the significant level used in the study is P less than
Jessica, 1 minute
0.05.
left.
Okay. So basically, the study tries to see whether the students who use People Talk more frequently or for a longer period tend to show different levels of speaking anxiety and communication confidence. Next, I come to the conclusion. To conclude, this study investigate the relationship between People Talk use, speaking anxiety, and communication confidence. This research among Indonesian ELT students is based on the idea that speaking is a crucial skill, but many students still face anxiety, but many students still face low confidence and limited opportunities to practice. This study is supported by theory of brain language, safe efficiency, and technology-based language learning. To ensure the research question, the study used quantitative relational design with the questionnaire data, which will be analyzed through descriptive statistics and Pearson or Spearman correlation. So that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All right. Thank you, Jessica, for your presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. The next presenter, we have Ihda Nur Musyafa. You may share your screen.
Wait.
All right. For Ihda Nur Musyafa, please start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Okay. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Respected lecturers, Prof. Dr. Safrijal, MPD, and my friends. My name is Ihda Nur Musyafa. Today, I would like to present my research proposal entitled Exploring EFL Students' Experiences in Using Medium as a Digital Platform for the Activities. So, for the next chap for the next chapter is background. Reading as a key skill in FL learning. Reading is widely recognized as one of the most important skills in the learning English as a foreign language. It plays important roles in helping students construct meaning, develop vocabulary, critical thinking, and gain knowledge from various texts. According to Gani et al. 2021, reading is not only about understanding word but also complex cognitive process that allow learners to construct meaning, acquire knowledge, and interpret information from the text. However, in many classroom contexts, students still face difficulties in understanding text deeply. Reading activities tend to focus on answering the question rather than focusing on developing effective reading strategies. As explained by Huang and Liu 2023, students are usually trained to identify explicit information instead of interpreting meaning or connecting ideas. In addition, students are often exposed only to simplified text, which limit their experience with authentic materials. As a result, they may struggle when encountering real-world texts that are more complex. With the development of digital technology, students now have access to various authentic reading materials through digital platforms. For example, soon 2020 found that digital reading platform can increase students' motivations and support vocabulary development. However, most previous studies have focused on structured platforms such as e-book or gamification, which are designed for instructional guidance. This creates a gap in understanding how students actually experience reading in real-world digital contexts. One example of the open digital platform is Medium. Medium is an online publishing platform where writers can share articles on various topics such as education, technology, and social issues. The texts on Medium are written for real audiences, which means they are authentic and unstructured. This allows students the text on the medium are written for real audiences, and this allows students to be exposed to diverse technology, vocabulary, writing styles, or perspective. Okay, for the next slide is problem. Based on this background, there are several problems identified. First, students' difficulty in understanding text deeply, and the second is limited. Students still have a limited exposure to authentic materials, and the third is students still focusing on answer the question rather than developing their strategies and rely heavily on the word by word translation. In the line of this problem, the study focusing on using Medium as a digital reading platform. Rather than assuming that Medium directly improve reading skills, this study aims to explore how students actually experience reading on this platform. It also seeks to understand how Medium can help bridge the gap between classroom reading and real-world reading practices. Okay, for the next slide is research questions. Uh, this study is guided by three research questions. First is how do EFL students perceive and engage the text on the medium as a reading digital platform? And the second is how do EFL students actually experience using medium? And the third is what challenges do EFL students face when using medium as a reading digital platform? uh, and the next slide is research objective, and in the line with these questions, the objective of this study are first to examine and understand how EFL students engage with the text on the medium, and the second is to explore EFL students perception of a medium digital reading platform, and the third is to identify the challenges faced by EFL students when reading on a medium. Okay, for the next slide is theoretical framework. The study is based of the concept of reading as a cognitive and experiential process. According to Snow 2020, reading comprehension involve both extracting and constructing meaning through interaction with the text. Reading is not only about understanding the text, but also about constructing meaning, connecting ideas, and using prior knowledge. And therefore, reading require active engagement between the reader and the text. In addition, the studies also use the concept of authentic materials because authentic text is provide real life language exposure and meaningful content which can enhance students' motivation. Authentic materials itself, it is text created for real life communication and not for instructional purpose. According to Nunan to 2020, authentic materials can increase students' motivation because they are more meaningful and relevant. Medium is an open digital platform, provide access to authentic text. However, unlike a structured learning platform, Medium over unstructured content. This means students need to independently to select text and apply their own reading, which make it interesting context to explore. Okay, for the next slide is previous study. Previous study from Rahman et al. 2023 shows that traditional reading method makes students' motivation low, and Chen et al. 2022 shows that limited vocabulary affect reading development. Nunan 2020 shows that authentic material can increase students' motivation, and Soon 2020 digital platform can increase reading engagement. Okay. For the next slide is research design. These studies use a qualitative approach design because this focus is to explore students' experiences, perception, and challenges in reading using medium. And the participation is around 5 until 7 or 10, or it will be flexible and with the criteria have used medium and willing to share experiences. And actually it is for EFL students. And the data collection, for the data collection is that are collected through semi-structured interview with the topics is perception, engagement, and experiences. For the next slide is data analysis. For the data analysis using thematic analysis, which involve which involve coding, reading transcript, identifying themes, and interpreting findings, and the truthworthiness and ethic to ensure the quality of the research. Several strategies are applied. It's like credibility, dependability, confirmability, and the last is ethical considerations. It is include voluntary participation and confidentially informed consent. Okay, for the next slide is expected result of or the conclusions. It is the study is expected to provide insight, a deeper insight into students' reading experience on a medium, and then the research is expected to reveals how students
You
perceive
have 1 minute
our
left.
text, and this study is also expected to identify challenges in open digital reading environment. And the last is this research is expected to contribute to more relevant EFL reading practices. Okay, maybe that's all of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ihda, for your presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Mutia Rahma Sidqia. For Mutia, you may start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Can you hear me clearly? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mutia Sidqia, and in this seminar proposal, I will present my research. The title is "The Impact of Digital Reading Platform on Vocabulary Growth and Reading Fluency." This study focuses on how digital reading can help students improve their English skills, especially vocabulary and reading fluency. For reading is a fundamental skill in learning English, especially as a foreign language. However, many students in Indonesia still face problems such as limited vocabulary and slow reading speed. Because of this, they often struggle to understand text and perform well academically. And nowadays, digital reading platforms like manybooks.net provide many accessible and level-appropriate texts. This can support extensive reading, which is known to improve vocabulary and reading fluency. Although many international studies have shown the benefit of digital reading, research in Indonesian high school is still limited. Most previous study focus on college student or general outcomes, not specific measurement like vocabulary growth or reading speed. Therefore, this study aims to fill that gap by focusing on 10th grade student at SMA Tekordova. Okay, the problem formulation, the main issue is, are digital reading platform more effective than conventional method in improving vocabulary and reading fluency? Based on this, there are two research questions. The first is there a significant difference in vocabulary growth between students using digital platform and those using conventional method? Second, how does digital reading affect reading fluency, including speed, accuracy, and comprehension? The objectives of this study are, first, to investigate the impact of digital reading platform on student vocabulary development. And then second, to measure change in reading fluency, including speed, accuracy, and comprehension after using digital reading. And this is significant of this study. The results are expected to provide practical and theoretical benefits. For the teacher, it offers guidance on how to integrate digital platform into teaching. And then for school and curriculum developers, it can support the implementation of digital extensive reading program. And for students, it helps them access authentic material and improve their motivation and independence in reading. And here are theoretical framework. The first is extensive reading theory, which is explained that vocabulary improved through repeat exposure. The second, session theory of vocabulary acquisition, which emphasizes learning through context. The third is reading fluency theory by Rasya, which highlights the importance of automatic reading. And last is parents' input hypothesis, which states that learners improve when they receive slightly higher level input support by digital tools. And the next slide is concept framework. Here here are independent variable. In this study, the independent variable is the use of digital reading platform, especially manybooks.net. And dependent variables are vocabulary growth and reading fluency. For reading fluency is measured through speed, accuracy, and comprehension, while motivation acts as a supporting factor. And the next slide is research methodology. This study used a quasi-experimental design with a pre-test, treatment, and post-test. For the sample consists of two classes of 10 grade students with a total of 30 students. And the instrument include vocabulary test and reading fluency assessment. For the procedure include pre-test, treatment using digital reading for the experimental group, and then conventional learning for the control group, followed by a post-test. And next slide is data analysis technique. Data analysis technique include the first is the data will be analyzed using descriptive statistics such as mean and standard deviation, and then assumption tests like normality and homogeneity will be conducted. And next is to compare the result, and independent sample t-test will be used. And finally, effect size using coins D will determine how strong the impact is. Okay, for expected outcome and implication, it is expected that students using digital reading platform will show better improvement in vocabulary and reading fluency compared to those using conventional method. This study also provides practical implications such as integrating digital reading into the curriculum and training teachers. And these are main preference used in this study, including experts like Nation, Rasinski, Crescent, and Cohen. Thank you for attention. I will be happy to receive any question or suggestion. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Thank you for Mutia for the presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Enon. For Enon, you may start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Enon from class 6C with student number 222-323-0075. Today, I would like to present my proposal. The title is The Impact of AI-Based Speaking Partners on Student English Speaking Confidence in ELT Classroom. The first slide, the background. Speaking is considered one of the most challenging skills for Indonesian able students. Many students still have low confidence when speaking English, mainly because they have limited opportunities to practice in real communication situations. According to the British Council 2023, around 65% of Indonesian students experience low confidence in speaking. In classroom settings, speaking practice is also quite limited. Learning often focuses more on grammar rather than communication, and students only spend about 20 until 30% of their time actively speaking. This condition can lead to anxiety, hesitation, and low willingness to communicate. To address this problem, AI-based speaking partners have emerged as a potential solution. These tools such as chatbot and a voice-based application and another application allow students to practice speaking anytime and provide immediate feedback in a low-pressure environment. Previous studies also have positively result AI can improve student confidence, pronunciation, and fluency, while also reducing anxiety. Therefore, AI speaking partners have potential to speaking those speaking confident in behavioral classroom. The next slide is research gap. Although previous studies show that AI-based speaking partners have positive effect, there are still several important gaps in the research. The first, many studies are small, only limited samples, so the result cannot be generalized to a wider population. The second, most findings are based on self-reported data such as student perception, without measuring actual speaking performance. The third, previous research is mostly short-term, so it is still unclear whether the improvement in speaking confidence can last over time. In addition, there is limited comparison between different types of AI tools such as text-based and voice-based application, as well as differences in usage frequency and duration. And then individual factors like proficiency and motivation and contextual factors such as learning environment and support system are still unexpected. The study aims to fill these gaps by providing a more comprehensive analysis of how AI-based speaking partners influence students' speaking confidence. The next slide, the research problem. Based on the problem discusses earlier, this study focuses on three main questions. The first, it examines which aspect of speaking performance, such as fluency, accuracy, pronunciation, and willingness to communicate, show there are most improvement after using AI-based speaking partners. The second, it explores how individual factors like student English proficiency, motivation, and speaking anxiety influence the effectiveness of AI tools. That it investigates how challenges or limitations in using AI may impact student and performance. The next, the research objectives. Based on this question, the objectives of this study are the first, to identify which aspect of speaking performance improve the most after using AI-based speaking partners. This analyze how individual learner characteristics influence the effectiveness of AI in improving speaking skills. To examine how are expected. The next step is literature review. The first operational definition of variables. In this study, there are two main variables. The first is variable X AI-based speaking partners, which refers to AI applications such as chatbot with voice-based tool or another AI application. This for speaking practice, this variable is measured based on how often students use the tools, how long they practice, and what features they use, such as feedback and pronunciation support. The second is variable Y. Speaking confidence, which refers to students' self-confidence when speaking English. This can be seen from their willingness to speak, their comfort in communication, and their participation in speaking activities. But variables are measured using questionnaire to capture student behaviors and perception during AI-based speaking practice. The theoretical foundation of this study is based on the role of AI in supporting speaking practice and the factors influencing speaking confidence, because AI-based speaking partners provide interactive and flexible opportunity for students to practice speaking, which help reduce anxiety and increase engagement. This concept is supported by interactionist theory, which emphasizes learning through interaction, as a sociocognitive theory, which highlights the role of tools and environment in learning. Second, speaking confidence is influenced by several key factors, including anxiety, self-efficacy, and willingness to communicate. When anxiety decreases and students feel more confident and capable, they are more likely to participate actively in speaking activities. Therefore, AI can support speaking confidence by reducing anxiety, increasing practice opportunities, and encouraging students to communicate more confidently. Several previous studies have shown positive results regarding the use of AI in speaking practice. According to Lee and Su 2019, found that AI tools can improve student fluency and referency during speaking activities. According to Stan and Aisyah 2020, also reported that AI chatbot help reduce speaking anxiety by providing a safer and more comfortable environment for practice. Coding Back and Kim 2021 found that AI increased student willingness to communicate and as learners can practice repeatedly without fear being judged. According to JT 2023, reported that AI-based speaking tools support student confidence and encourage more independent learning. The study indicated that AI-based speaking partners not only improve speaking performance. Okay, the next is framework and hypothesis. The conceptual framework of the study focuses on the relationship between two variable X, AI-based speaking partners, and variable Y is student speaking confidence. AI tools provide opportunities for students to practice speaking and receive feedback in low-pressure environment. This allows students to speak more freely without fear of being judged. As a result, student anxiety decreases and their confidence in speaking English increases. And then the hypothesis based on the theoretical and conceptual framework, this study was proposed several hypotheses. The main hypothesis H1 states that AI-based speaking partners significantly affect students speaking confident. This means that using AI tools can help students feel more confident when speaking English. In addition, there are three sub-hypotheses H1A examine whether the frequency of using AI affects student confidence. H1B focuses on the duration of practice, whether longer use leads to higher confidence, and H1C looks at specific AI features such as feedback and conversation support. These hypotheses aim to identify which aspect of AI contribute most to improving student confidence. The next slide is research methodology. The research design. This study uses a quantitative descriptive approach with a correlation design. This means the research focuses on analyzing the relationship between the using of AI-based speaking partners and students speaking confidently without applying any direct intervention. The data are collected through a questionnaire using both Likert scale, school question, and open-ended question. The Likert scale is used to measure student perception, while the open-ended question explores their experiences and challenges. This design allows the researchers to understand how AI usage is related to students speaking confidence and other factors such as anxiety, comfort, and motivation. The population and sample. The population of this study consists of undergraduate students from both English and non-English study programs who have experience using AI-based speaking partner. The participants come from different semester, gender, and levels of familiarity with AI tools. This study uses random sampling, which means every student has an equal chance to be selected. The research instrument used in this study in an online questionnaire distributed to Google Forms. The questionnaire consists of two types of questions. First, close-ended question using a Likert scale to measure student perception, such as confidence, anxiety, motivation, and pronunciation improvement. The second, open-ended questions are used to explore student experience and challenging when using AI-based speaking partners. To ensure the quality of the instrument, validity is tested using content validity, meaning the questions are aligned with the research objective and relevant theories. The reliability is passed through a pilot test to ensure the consistency of the result. The instrument allows the researcher to collect both quantitative
Sorry,
data
Enon,
for a more
have
comprehensive
1 minute left.
analysis. Okay. The data collection. Data in this study were collected online using questionnaire, and the data collected includes student demographic information. In addition, the questionnaire measures student perception, including confidence, and all data were collected within a specific time frame. The data analysis, there are descriptive, statistic, validity, and reliability tests, normally test, correlation, and compared groups. Okay. The last is conclusion. In conclusion, AI-based speaking partners can help improve student speaking confidence by providing flexible and low-pressure practice. This study aims to give a more comprehensive understanding of their effectiveness in able learning. Okay, maybe that's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Enon, for your presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Aisyah Ramadanti. For Aisyah Ramadanti, you may start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Aisyah Ramadanti from 6C, and my study number is 222-3230-091. So today I would like to present my research proposal entitled AI in Early Childhood EFL, Cognitive Load and Psycholinguistic Perspective. In today's digital era, artificial intelligence is becoming part of our daily life, including in education. Many students, even young children, are now learning English through AI tools such as chatbots and virtual assistants. But this situation raises an important question. Is AI really helping children learn English effectively, or does it create new challenges that we may not fully realize yet? Therefore, this research aims to explore the impact of AI from both cognitive and psycholinguistic perspective. Okay, let's move to the background. The use of AI in English as a foreign language learning is rapidly increasing, especially in early childhood education. AI is often used to give early exposure to English through interactive conversation. However, despite this advancement, English proficiency in Indonesia still remains at intermediate level. This indicates that technology alone may not be enough to significantly improve language skills. One of the main concerns is that AI conversational agents like emotional interaction and nonverbal cues. These elements are actually very important in natural language acquisition, especially for children. Children learn language not only from vocabulary and grammar, but also from facial expression, gestures, tone of voice, and social context. Without these elements, learning may become less meaningful and less engaging. Next is problem statement and objective. Based on this background, several problems are identified. First, the lack of emotional interaction and nonverbal communication in AI system. Second, the potential cognitive overload where children may feel overwhelmed due to much information or unfamiliar interaction pattern. Third, there is a possible shift in learning theory from constructivism learning, which is interactive and social, to behaviorist learning, which focuses more on repetition and stimulus responses. Lastly, there is still limited research that connects cognitive load with language acquisition in AI-based learning. To address this problem, this research has three main objectives. First is to analyze psycholinguistic mechanism involved in AI-based learning. Second, to measure the cognitive load experienced by learners. Third is to evaluate whether there is a shift in learning approaches. Okay, next. Now let's discuss the theoretical framework. This study is based on several important theories. First, constructivism, which suggests that learning happens through social interaction and active engagement. This is very relevant for children. Second is behaviorism, which focuses on stimulus and response. AI systems often follow this pattern, where learners respond to prompts given by the system. Third, humanism, which emphasizes emotional connection and personal meaning in learning. This is something AI currently lacks. And finally, cognitive load theory, which explains that learners have limited mental capacity. If the information is too complex or too much, it can reduce. Third, humanism, which emphasizes emotional connection and personal meaning in learning. This is something AI currently lacks. And finally, cognitive flow theory, which explains that learners have limited mental capacity. If the information is too complex or too much, it can reduce learning effectiveness. The framework of this research can be summarized as AI interaction influence cognitive load, and cognitive load affect language acquisition. So, the way learners interact with AI may determine how well they process and understand the language. Next. Next, I will explain the research method. This study uses a quantitative method with quasi-experimental design, which allows comparison between conditions without full randomization. The participants include children, adolescents, and adults. This is important to see differences across age groups. The instruments used in this research are an FL2 test to measure language ability. Second is a cognitive load questionnaire to assess mental effort, and interaction style scale to understand how learners engage with AI. The research procedure follows several steps. First is participants will take a test to measure their initial ability. Then they will interact with an AI system for learning activities. After that, they will take a post test to see improvement. Next, they will complete a questionnaire about their cognitive experience. Finally, all data will analyze to find patterns and relationships. Okay, in conclusion, this research aims to explore the role of AI in language learning, especially for young learners. It focuses on how AI affects cognitive load and physical linguistic process. Hopefully, this study can provide a better understanding of whether AI is truly effective or is improvement are needed, especially in terms of emotional interaction and learning design. In the future, this research may also help educators design more balanced learning environments that combine technology with human interaction. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Aisyah, for your presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Kurnia Dwi Albiansyah. For Kurnia, please start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you, moderator, for the opportunity. I'm a student. Number is 222-323-0071. I'm from English Education Department, Sultan Ageng Tirtayasa University. So today, I would like to present my research proposal entitled "The Effectiveness of Interview-Based Speaking Cards in Improving Student Speaking Ability of 10th Grade Student at SMA 67 Ngawi." So, next is the background. English is an important international language used in education, business, science, and technology. In learning your first skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Among the skills, speaking, it is because it allows students to communicate ideas, opinions, and feelings directly. However, in reality, many students still face difficulties in speaking English. Some common problems are lack of confidence, limited vocabulary, poor pronunciation, weak grammar mastery. Besides that, speaking classes are often still teacher-centered, so students do not get enough opportunities to practice speaking actively. As a result, students' speaking ability remains low. Therefore, teachers need interactive media that can encourage students to speak more actively. Based on preliminary observation, students still have low speaking ability, although interview activities are sometimes used in class. There are still problems. The first is students do not know what to say, and students only give a short answer, and interaction become limited. To solve this problem, I propose using interview-based speaking cards. These cards contain structured interview questions. The benefits are helping students generate idea, guiding students to speak longer, encouraging active interaction, making learning more interesting and communicative. So the previous study, I have several previous studies for this topic. The first is Elisatu Silawani, 2023, found student had problem in confidence, vocabulary, and pronunciation. And then next is Abrar in 2024, speaking performance influenced by linguistic and psychological factor. And then Fadlan in 2025 found students struggle in fluency and grammar. And then Harefa 2024 found role play improve speaking performance. And then Rahman found discussion activities increase fluency and confidence. And then the last one is Karim in 2023 found AI tools help pronunciation and fluency. These studies show speaking problems exist and can be improved through interactive strategies. However, there is still a research gap. Most previous study focused on student speaking difficulties, teaching strategies like role play and discussion, and then technology-based media such as AI applications. Only few studies focus on simple and practical media such as speaking cards. In addition, only limited studies measure the effectiveness statistically using quantitative research. Therefore, this study aims to fill the gap. This research has two questions. The first is there a significant effect of interview-based speaking card on student speaking ability? And to what extent do interview-based speaking cards improve student speaking ability? And based on those questions, the objectives are to examine whether there is a significant effect of interview-based speaking cards on speaking ability, to measure students' improvement after using speaking cards. And this study is expected to give benefits for the first is for students, improve speaking. The first is for improve speaking ability and increase confidence, and then improve fluency and vocabulary. And then for the teachers, provide an alternative teaching media, and then create more student-centered learning. And for the researchers, become a reference for future further studies. So let's go into the literature review. According Brown, speaking is an interactive process of construction meaning. Harmer states speaking is important for real communication. There are 4 speaking components in this study. The first is fluency, second is pronunciation, the third is vocabulary, and the last is grammar. These components will be assessed in this research. And then interview activities is communicative activities where a student asks and answers question. This activity can improve fluency, confidence, interaction, and skill. Interaction skill. However, students often lack idea and give short response. Therefore, support media is needed. The last one is speaking cards. Speaking cards are cards containing structured questions. For example, what do you usually in the morning? What do you usually do in the morning? What do you want to be in the future? Like that. This card help students generate idea, stay active, speak more confidently, and practice communication naturally. So the conceptual framework of this study is independent variable or X means independent based speaking cards, and then dependent variable or Y is students speaking ability. This measures through fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar. This means the use of speaking cards is expected to improve student speaking ability. And the hypotheses are H0 or null hypothesis. There is no significant effect of interview-based speaking card on student speaking ability. And for H1 or alternative hypothesis, there's a significant effect of interview-based speaking cards on student speaking ability. And for the research design, the study use a quantitative approach. The design is a pre-experimental design, specifically one group pre-test and post-test design. The procedure is pre-test and then treatment, after that post-test. So before treatment, students take a pre-test to measure initial speaking ability, and then student receive treatment using speaking cards. After that, after treatment, a student take a post-test, then the score will be compared. So the next is the population and sample. The population is 10 grade students at SMA 67 Ngawi. The sample is one class consisting of approximately 30 students. The sampling technique is purposive sampling. This class is chosen because students still need improvement in speaking ability. The instrument used is speaking test in interview form. Students work in pairs as interviewer and interviewee. Assessment use rubric based on fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar. Each component is scored from 1 to 4, then converted into final score. Next is data collection. The data collection consists of 3 stages. The first is pre-test. The students do speaking test before treatment, and then second is treatment. Students practice speaking using interview-based speaking card for several meetings, and then the third is post-test. Students do test after treatment. Then the results are compared. And then the data analysis. The data
Have
will be
1 minute
analyzed
left.
Okay, the data will be analyzed using pair sample t-test, because the same students are tested twice, before treatment and after treatment. Significant level is 0.05. If p-value is less than 0.05, H0 is rejected. It means speaking card significantly improves student speaking ability. So, based on this study, interview-based speaking cards are expected to become an effective and a simple media to improve student speaking ability. I think that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. I give my time to the moderator. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Albi, for your presentation. Okay, let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Rasya Rosdiana Elka. For Rasya, please start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Okay, is my voice clear enough?
Yes, your voice is clear.
Okay, I will start now. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for the opportunity given to me today. My name is Rasya Rosdiana Elka, the student number 222 323 and I'm from Sultan Agung Tirtayasa University. In this presentation, I would like to present my research proposal entitled The Effect of Grammar as an AI-based feedback tool on students' grammar accuracy in EFL writing. Okay, I will start with the background of this study. So, writing is considered one of the most difficult skills in learning English as a foreign language, or EFL. This is because writing is not only about expressing ideas, but also about using correct grammar, choosing appropriate vocabulary, and organizing sentences clearly. Especially in Indonesia, students usually learn English only in the classroom. They rarely use English in daily life. Because of this, their exposure to English is very limited and it affects their ability to write correctly. So many students still make grammatical errors when writing. For example, they use incorrect verb tenses like mixing past and present, and they make mistakes in subject verb agreement, and they misuse articles such as a and the. Besides students' problems, teachers also face challenges. For example, teachers have limited time to check students' writing. Classes are often large, and it is difficult to give detailed feedback to each student. As a result, students do not receive enough guidance to improve their grammar. And then, next, I will, based on the background, there are several important problems. Even though students have learned English for many years, their grammar accuracy in writing is still low. One of the main reasons is that grammar is often taught as theory, not practiced in real writing situations. This means students may understand grammar rules, but they cannot apply them when writing. Some main problems are students rely on memorizations instead of real usage. And then they do not have enough opportunities to revise their writing, and feedback from teachers is sometimes too general or not clear, and as a result, students repeat the same mistakes again and again. And there is also a research gap. Most previous studies focus on university students, not high school students. Many studies also focus on students' opinions or perceptions, not on their actual writing performance. So this study is important because it focuses on high school students and measures their real improvement in grammar accuracy. Next, research questions and objectives. Based on these problems, this study is guided by two main research questions. First, does Grammarly significantly improve students' grammar accuracy in writing? Second, is Grammarly more effective than traditional teacher feedback? And these questions lead to the objectives of the study, which are first is to examine the effect of Grammarly on students' grammar accuracy, and then to compare the effectiveness of Grammarly and teacher feedback. So this study is not only looks at improvement but also compares two types of feedback. Next is next, please. Okay. Next is literature review, theoretical review. This study is supported by several important theories in language learning. First is the noticing hypothesis. This theory explains that students learn better when they notice their mistakes. If students are not aware of their errors, they will not improve. And second is the output hypothesis. This theory states that students improve when they produce language and then revise it based on feedback. So learning happens when students write, get feedbacks, and revise their works. In addition, there is written corrective feedback, or WCF, which refers to the feedback given to students to correct their errors. And this feedback is very important, but in real classroom, it is often limited. Finally, AI-based tools like Grammarly can help solve these problems because they provide instant feedback, clear correction, suggestions, opportunities for independent revision. Next slide is the previous study. Now I will briefly explain some previous studies. So several studies shows that Grammarly has positive effects on students' writing. For example, some studies shows that Grammarly helps students identify errors more easily. It can create students' awareness of grammar and improves their writing accuracy. However, there are also some limitations. Students may depend too much on Grammarly. They may accept suggestions without understanding them. And sometimes the feedback may not be fully accurate. And so this study tries to provide more evidence, especially in the context of high school students. And next. Okay, next is conceptual framework and hypothesis. So this study uses a conceptual framework to explain how Grammarly improves grammar accuracy. This process is followed. First, Grammarly identifies errors in students' writing. Then students notice these errors, and after that, they revise their writing based on the feedback. And finally, their grammar accuracy is improved. And for the hypothesis, alternative hypothesis means there is an effect. First, Grammarly improves grammar accuracy, and second, Grammarly is more effective than teacher feedback. And there is a null hypothesis, means there is no effect. First, there is no improvement after using Grammarly, and second is there is no difference between Grammarly and teacher feedback. This hypothesis will be tested statistically.
Sorry, Rasya, you have 1 minute left.
Okay, next slide is methodology. So there is 4 methodology. This study uses a quasi-experimental design. This means the researcher compares 2 groups without random assignment, and there is 2 groups. Experimental groups uses Grammarly. Control group receives teacher's feedback, and The participants are grade 11 students in a senior high school. The instruments used are a writing test where students write 150 to 200 words and a scoring rubric to measure grammar accuracy. These designs help to compare the effectiveness of both methods. Next is data analysis. The data collected will be analyzed using statistical methods. First, descriptive statistics are used to describe the data. Sorry, next slide, please. Such as mean score, standard deviations, and second, inferential statistics are used to test the hypothesis. Pair t-test to compare before and after results, independent t-test to compare between groups, and finally, effect size using coherence D is used to measure how strong the effect is. And next slide, it is expected results. It is expected that Grammarly will have a positive effect on students' grammar accuracy. This is because Grammarly provides immediate and detailed feedback, which helps students understand their mistakes better. So the learning process is the significant improvement in grammar accuracy and higher improvement compared to teacher feedback. And yeah, I think that's all from me. I'm very open to questions, suggestions, and critical feedback from the audience. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Rasya, for your presentation. Let's move to the next presenter. Our next presenter is Khoyul Zahran Augusta. For Khoyul, you may start your presentation. The screen is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Is my voice clearly, guys? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Zahran Augusta. You can call me Zahran from class 6C with student number 222-323-0094. Today, I would like to present my research proposal entitled The Influence of English Caption Video on Listening Comprehension of Indonesian EFL Learners. This study focuses on how caption video can help students improve their listening skills in learning English as a foreign language. Okay, for the first one is introduction. Listening comprehension is a fundamental skill in second language acquisition, but it is also one of the most difficult skills for EFL learners. According to Vandergrift and Go, listening is not just hearing sounds, but also understanding meaning by combining the linguistic and contextual information. In reality, many students face problems such as fast speech, unfamiliar accents, and lack of visual support. These challenges often make it difficult for to fully understand spoken English. The next one is research gap identification. Although many studies show that English caption video can improve listening comprehension, there are still several research gaps. For the first one is population context. There are limited studies focusing specifically on Indonesian university students. And then for the second one is research design. Many studies use simple design, so stronger experimental comparisons are still needed. The third one, mixed results. Some studies saw positive effect, but others saw no significant improvement. Therefore, further research is needed to clarify these findings. Research problem. The main problem in this study is that listening remains a major difficulty for EFL learners. Students must process multiple elements at once, such as sounds, grammar, meaning, and context, which can overload their cognitive ability. In Indonesian, this problem becomes more serious because students have limited exposure to authentic English. As a result, many students struggle to understand spoken English effectively. Research question. Based on the problem, the study proposed two research questions. The first one is, does the use of English caption video significantly influence students' listening comprehension? Is there a significant difference between students who watch caption video and those who watch video without the captions? And then the next one is research objective. The objective of study are to examine whether English caption video influence listening comprehension scores, to compare the result between students who use caption video and those who do not. This objective aims to provide clear evidence of the effective of caption video. And then for the next one is operational definition of variable. In the study, there are two main variables. First one is the independent variable, which is English caption video. This refers to video where spoken English is supported by written caption on the screen. And the second one is the dependent variable, which is listening comprehension. This is measured through students' score on listening tests, including understanding man's idea, details, and the meaning. This definition help ensure that the variable can be measured objectively. And then for the next one is review of related studies. Previous studies support the use of caption video in language learning. For example, Ben Salim found that students who use full caption perform better than those without captions. Other study in Indonesia also showed that students who use caption video achieve higher listening scores. Additionally, meta-analysis research indicates that caption video generally have a strong positive effect on listening comprehension. However, results can vary depending on factors such as proficiency level and learning context. For the next one is data collection technique. In this study, data will be collected through several steps. The first one is both groups will take the pretest to measure their initial listening ability, and then the experimental group will learn using caption video, while the control group will use regular listening materials. After the treatment, both groups will take a post-test. The results will then be compared to determine the effect of caption video on listening comprehension. Okay, for the conclusion overall, this study used quasi experimental design to groups, experimental and control. The aim is to provide more reliable and measurable evidence about the effectiveness of caption video in improving listening skill. It is expected that this study will contribute both theoretically and practically to English language teaching. This study explored whether English caption video can significantly improve listening comprehension among Indonesian EFL learners. The findings are expected to help teachers choose more effectively teaching media and improve student learning outcome. Maybe that's all for me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Right, thank you for your presentation, Zahran. So we have finished all the presentations. Now I will open the Q&A session. Say your name. If you want to ask a question, please say your name, mention the presenter's name, then ask your questions. You can raise your hand or write it in the chat box. Okay, Ahsan, you may asking your question.
Okay, my name is Aisyah Ramadan. I want to ask to Kurnia Dwi Albiansyah, why do you use one group pretest and post-test design? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ahsan, for the question. Can I answer the question right now, moderator? Okay, thank you for the opportunities. I use one group pretest and post-test design because this study aims to measure the effectiveness of interview-based speaking cards by comparing students' speaking ability before and after the treatment in the same group. By comparing the pretest and post-test scores, I can see whether there is improvement or not. I choose this design because it is practical, efficient, and suitable for classroom research with limited time and access. I think that's all. Is that enough, Ahsan?
Okay, thank you, Kurnia.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other questions? Yes, Aira, you may ask your question.
Okay, so my name is Aisyah Ramadanti. I want to ask Mutia Rahma Sidqia. So, your study utilizes question extensive reading and input hypothesis theories, yet in practice, students use a digital platform. How did the researcher ensure that this reading activity truly adhered to the E+1 principle and were not, in fact, too difficult or too easy for the students? Is it clear, Mutia?
Yeah, thank you. Is my voice clear? Sorry, I'm in outside.
Yes, your voice clear.
Okay, thank you for your question, Aira. To ensure that the material align with I+1 principle, I use text tailored to student ability levels uh, based on their class year and pre-test results. The platform used, such as manybooks.net, provide a wide range of text with varying levels of difficulty so that student can choose readings that are not too difficult but still challenging. And then I also provide guidance to student on selecting text where they can understand most of the contents while still encountering some new vocabulary. And in this way, the reading process remains within the optimal learning zone in line with Crescent's I+1 concept. Maybe just that. Is it clear, Aira?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you, Mutia.
Right. Is there any other questions? Okay. If there are no more questions, I will close the Q&A sessions. Thank you for all the questions and answers. We have come to the end of our session. Thank you to all the presenters and participants. I hope this session is useful and very, very beneficial for all of us. I am sorry if there are many mistakes. Thank you and have a nice day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.